Man, the show's going to get a lot better as we welcome our guest today. That's right. You hear the scream, and you know as Matthew Lillard has joined us here. Matt, what's up, man? How you doing?
Living the dream. It's
Good.
Halloween, by the way, and nobody's dressed to scream. So you can all just get out. If you're not dressed to scream.
Copster,
my mask.
Copster, I'm so shocked in the booth in the back there. I'm so shocked that you didn't dress up. No, he's a diehard.
I am a
Scream fan.
diehard fan. I very much am. Stu is my favorite character. Of all
I
time.
don't believe you.
Well,
By the way, this is the one day. It's like your Christmas, and you're lying to my face.
Well, I didn't know. I don't know who you like. I don't know you personally. I don't know if you're like, oh, I get it because it's Scream and Halloween. But yeah, I'm a big fan. I really am.
Well, how about a homage, dude?
You're right. You just blew it, dude.
Damn, I'm gonna
it's
run home and grab
Wednesday.
it.
Get-
Real quick.
Stu just told you to go fuck yourself.
Yes, there's time. Get out.
It's true.
Booga!
Matt, before we get into, I want to talk to you here about what's going on.
I
'cause
can't
you're,
wait.
You're D&D. Are you buddies with Joe Manganiello?
Yes.
Okay, because we had
How confident do you feel about saying his last name?
Joe Manganiello. I've said it. I think Manganiello what's up?
Well,
It's
he's from
Manganiello.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm friends with his brother and him. I'm the one that was like, it's Manganello.
It's
Yeah.
Manganiello.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
he
yeah.
came in. We had him on the show, and we.
He's so handsome and tall.
He is.
yeah,
Gorgeous.
He's real buff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And-
0% body
Big guy.
fat.
But
Yeah.
I figured you guys would be running the same circle because he's passionate about D&D, as are you, and I want to get into this. But I have a crazy story I got to tell you before we do that.
Is this going to make everyone uncomfortable?
Yes.
Oh my God.
yeah.
Kids, turn off Collider.
Yeah, well, we'll start with 10 years ago, legit 10 years ago. It's the weirdest thing. I had a dream, right? I had a dream. Did I ever tell you the story?
I don't think so.
So I had.
Do you have security?
Yeah, it's gonna
listen,
get creepy.
It is, but it's
next
a
door.
fucking weird dream. I had this dream, and for some reason, you and I got into a confrontation. I don't remember what it was. I don't know what it was about. I just
You
know.
just watched Scream.
I just know there was a confrontation, but I remember at the time I knew what it was, and I was telling people that day because we had this comedy awards thing that we were doing. And so the night of the comedy awards, I'm telling these people this dream that I had, and we're outside doing these interviews, and you walk by. Legit, walked by outside of La Brea, and it was La Brea like by room 5. And you looked at me, and you go, and you turned away, and I said, that's the fucking weirdest thing after having this dream.
Really?
It was so strange. I told my wife about it this morning. I go, I got to bring this up to him. She's like, you have to. She's like, that's weird. It's really weird.
And I just gave you like a stank face?
It was just kind of a look of like, it's just kind of like, I know, fucker. I know that we had that argument. Yeah,
I see you.
And it was so, and I've never had an experience like that before, to where it's like you dream
yeah.
something that you know from films and TV and stuff, and then you just popped up there. So I just,
Well, wait till you see what I do to you tonight.
I'm sure.
It's going to be so dreamy,
I
bro.
know, I'm sure.
That dream walking
That was
is
it.
a real deal.
you've been fucking around, man.
It's on.
Well, thank you for hearing that story, that weirdo story, and
I don't really know how to process that. Am I supposed to
I
be
know.
like, bro, I'm sorry?
But it's
or
like,
yes?
but I don't know what he
did
said. But
nothing
it's,
wrong.
but it's one of those things like that. What, like, why is that a universe thing, or is that just like no, just a
But
weird
we've all
coincidence?
had that awkward moment where you have a dream about somebody, guy or girl, and then you see them in the next couple of days, and you're like, still don't.
But dude, but that's different. That's like people inside of your world. This is someone I've seen in like television, film that just for some reason popped into my head and then is there the next day.
I am so tempted to reach across this table and hug you.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what it was.
No, like it is. It might be on soon.
So
Yeah,
that was
'cause
it.
I feel like we're brothers in the dream world.
Maybe that's what it is. And we figured it out. We
go.
were supposed to meet, and then 10
thank
years
you.
later,
Thank
here we
God.
are.
What took you so long?
All right, well, enough about me and my dreams. Let's talk about you.
I'm an Aquarius.
Yeah,
I got a
okay.
perfect 1600 on the SAT.
Nice.
Did you really?
No, God, no. I'm a damn actor. You don't become an actor if you get 1600 on the SAT.
This is true.
I don't judge anybody. We just had Vladimir Klitschko in the
You
other
did?
day. Yeah,
How
man.
big is he?
He is huge.
How tiny is his wife?
I don't know.
Right?
I don't think they're together anymore.
Well,
we
whatever
certainly
that
didn't bring
was
it
at
up.
some point.
Yeah, we
I didn't
certainly didn't
think
bring
he
it
was
up.
that big.
She was 5 feet. He is 6'8", 6'7",
And
6'7".
huge.
Dude, he walked in
He
this place.
threatened me.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah.
He threatened me.
Well, you said something stupid.
What would you say?
Well, I said,
Wait, did he really threaten you?
yeah.
Nah,
Sort of.
But enough,
Goofy,
in a
goofy.
enough to make you
way,
feel uncomfortable.
Enough for him
Yeah,
to shut up.
So I said,
Which is amazing, apparently.
I said, do you ever remember like the best punch you gave or the worst punch you took? And he goes, don't ask Bosker's worst punch. You don't remember. And then he goes, don't forget my left is closer than you think.
He
And I
said
was
no.
like, what?
He said just to let you know that my reach is long enough. I could hit you in the face from here.
Yeah,
and he just went,
Yeah.
and it was great.
Heavyweight
my
champion of
God.
the world.
By the way, maybe that's what's wrong with the world. that somebody, instead of like answering the question, threatens your physical.
And for the first
Face
25
box.
minutes of the interview, all he talked about was like, face your challenge. As people, we have things and overcome. It's peaceful. Like,
I will punch you.
Yeah, I'm gonna break your face.
Everything he hits, he crushes.
But he's a smart dude. Very,
Really?
dude,
Yeah.
super smart.
I want to know what the adjective is for me when I leave. What's it gonna be, boys?
tell you.
Dream maker.
Get
Get over here.
The coffee. The coffee.
I don't care about the damn coffee.
Get over there. That's
Is
it.
he a decent hugger?
Well, no,
I'm 48 years old. That was
There's
hurtful.
two ways. Jason Isaacs threw coffee on the floor, and Matthew Lillard climbed on the table. I love it. I love it. All right, let's talk about your game, dude. We got Beetle and Grim.
That's good.
Tell me about it. That's what I do. That's why I get messages from the Don't Be
Are
Scared.
you in trouble?
No. I was talking
You
about.
keep pointing at this corner like there's something up there. There's nothing there.
There
dude.
was. See, they fuck with me. There was something there, and when you turn around, it's not there anymore. But we played this old message. I got this harassing phone message that I got from this girl a long time ago, and we played it on the thing. And that's why, so...
You think that was harassing?
It was kind of harassing.
Yeah, it's just.
Are you harassed? Are
was
you
a
a
drunk
harasser?
dial.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you from the Bronx or do you just emulate it?
Boston.
Boston.
Fuck off.
Oh, how dare you talk to our guests
Hold my
that
watch.
way.
Hold
so
my
sorry.
watch.
Being called from the Bronx as
I don't
a
know.
Boston.
The way you're talking, it's like,
I know.
I don't think I'm a harasser anymore.
No.
were you aggressive? How many hardcore fights, physical altercations have you been in your life?
I don't know.
Oh, wow. Would you say more or less than 10?
I would say right around.
Right around
yeah.
10?
Right around 10. And
Yeah. Well, I told you I don't remember a lot of them. Apparently I
Oh.
hit my best friend when we were hammered.
Oh.
I got in a fight with her because she was trying to remind me to bring my leather jacket. And I thought that was rude.
I'm just going to let Matthew interview you because he's fascinating.
I want. Do you remember the best punch you ever gave or the best punch you ever took?
Did you ever see 13?
I did not. I refuse.
Yeah.
Why do you refuse?
Suicide's a legit thing, and I don't like the glorification.
So there was a scene where they have to hit each other. Not have to. They decide to. And I remember one time a girlfriend of mine asked me to hit her because we had done like whippets or whatever, and that was the best punch I ever gave.
Oh my
She's
god!
not even moving.
It's amazing
Why,
when
you
somebody's just still.
I know.
And how easy it is to
Yeah.
punch them.
You never got in a fight?
I wasn't really great at fighting, but
No.
I tangled assholes a couple times.
Well, I
Over or
feel like-
under 10?
Under 10.
Okay.
Under 10.
Under 10. But like multiple times, I was always the guy, true story, like I would jump into a fight to break it up with people I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, guys, stop! And like in the middle of it, because I'm big and,
Yeah.
You're a pacifist.
well, just sometimes it's just, you have to stop.
But you
Like,
wanted to have you're the guy that wants to have the good time at the party, right?
I'm not really, I was saying this today to a buddy of mine, I'm not really a big party dude.
Ever?
No,
Really?
it's funny because social anxiety.
Oh, okay.
This is a weird story, but I'm super comfortable in this situation. I could act. I could be in front of a million people talking about something I care about. But if I go to a party, I just get super. Would rather be anywhere else but that party. Now, in the world of like, if you put me with a bunch of drama people, if you put me playing games, if you put me playing Dungeons and Dragons, if you put me like in a situation where it's kind of my speed, it's the best.
Oh, well, let's talk about that too, because again, there are certain types of people you don't like. We were just talking about with Joe. I didn't know until I got to know him that how he's obsessed with D&D and that this culture now D&D, and then I figured you guys knew each other because you guys run in the same circle. Did you meet him through the D&D circle?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So tell me about where did your love for Arkham started when you were younger? Like how did you really start getting involved in D&D?
So I started playing as a kid. Like
Yeah.
we were that same sort of neighborhood you grew up in, where you take off in the middle of 7:00 in the morning and you play until the lights came on. And you played football, and then you'd play war, and then you'd play football again, and then you'd ride bicycles to buy candy, and then at some point you'd have to come inside because you just were scorching hot. And at some point, a guy named David Larson in my little neighborhood started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I was probably 9 years old. And look, I had a crazy active imagination, like off the charts sort of. I was a drama kid.
Yeah. Where'd you grow up? Did you grow up in?
I grew up in Detroit
Okay.
and then moved to Orange County when I was like 10.
Got it.
So
Was that
this is in Orange
Tustin?
County. Yeah.
Yeah, Tustin, Foothill High School.
You went to
there.
Foothill?
I went to Foothill. Yeah.
We're the loyal knights of Foothill.
Yep. I could, yeah. When I was doing that, I
This
was
is like the best interview I've ever had.
there was because
We have the Dreamweaver,
I
and
was
now
in
we
the-
have like a
And you
night,
and
a
you won't get
loyal
punched,
night.
and you have
You were
protector now.
starting to appear in television, and my drama teacher was like, "Yeah, he went to Foothill." And
Who's
we were
your
all
drama
like,
teacher?
Jan Laurie, but I don't think you had. I think she started like right after you left.
Oh, right on.
Go Foothill.
Anyway, so
Yes,
go
sir.
Phil.
Go Phil.
So yeah, so I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then like every normal kid that played D&D as a kid, I stopped when it was time to stop. Like when girls became a relative,
Right.
you know, like oh, I would like to kiss a woman. I stopped playing, and then so I went to acting school for college, and my first year in acting school, my roommate at the time had all these Dungeons and Dragons books, and I was like, dude, do you play D&D?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And so one day, instead of going to a Super Bowl party, like we grabbed 5 guys and we started playing D&D again. I was 22 years old.
Right.
So I've been playing with that same group of guys ever since. I'm 48.
Well, and then so now you created your own game here, then,
Yeah.
too. So where did that come from? How did at what time? So you're 22 when you start getting back
Yeah.
into it, and from 22 on, it's active.
Yeah. I mean, not active. I mean, you know, we're still, you know, we all have kids and wives, and we all have lives. But you know, it was something that instead of, why are you laughing?
Because she doesn't have kids.
Yes, you all do. That is true. You all have wives and kids.
I don't have kids.
I don't have kids.
Well,
I have a wife.
What wife,
fiance.
fiance?
No,
what-
my point
what
is that
kids?
we were like, you know, we sort of like
Trying to grow up. a
Yeah,
little
we
more.
were.
Sure.
Yeah, we
You
were
guys
in New
all on your
York.
team,
Yeah,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
were like at 22. You know, you're trying to figure it out. We had all these. You know, we're doing all the things that 22-year-olds do. But every now and then, like once a month, we'd get together and roll dice. And so, we've been playing our whole lives. And about 2 years ago, we started thinking. You know, we're in the middle of a midlife crisis. Let's face it. There's more years behind me than there are in front of me. I was like, God, I got to do something else with my life.
Yeah.
And instead of buying a fast car and getting a new wife, I was like, oh. We started thinking about things that we could do, things that we love. And, you know, we were talking about doing a mystery box company or, you know, an escape room. And like, we have 5 creative guys that we all sort of come from the same space. And at some point, my buddy was like, I have the idea of what we can do. And he's my partner. And he said, we should do, you know, some people, if you love Pearl Jam, for example, some people go out and download the album. Some people go out and buy used to buy the CD. Some people go out and buy vinyl now.
Yeah.
Like the real Pearl Jam guy will buy, I love the vinyl, I'll buy vinyl. And then that rare person that is like obsessed with Pearl Jam will buy the boxed edition
Right.
of the Pearl Jam album. So we are, in essence, the boxed edition of every Dungeons and Dragons release.
I like that. I like the way you put that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's
I
like
thought
if
were
you
gonna say,
love the game.
We're going to start a Pearl Jam cover band. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
We all got throat tattoos with Pearl Jam. So we started this company and we sort of pitched the idea, and D&D said yes. And right now I'm like the head of marketing and international distribution and insurance. I mean, like you're
Wow.
figuring
Wow,
out this
yeah.
whole corporate structure.
Do you at one point though when you get that, because that's a lot of responsibility then it comes
Yeah.
in your way, especially for a product that you love.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So when that happens, at any point do you say, "Shit, this is a lot that I took on," or "No, bring it, let's do some more"?
Yeah, it happened. I mean, listen, our business runs from 9 p.m. to 1 o'clock in the morning every night.
Damn.
And we only made 1,000 boxes. So it's Beetle and Grimm's is the name of the company, and it's Platinum Edition, and we're releasing 1,000 of these boxes. And you know, we're almost sold out, but until recently, we were really struggling, and we were about to have to write like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of checks. And
How does it catch on? What do you do to get?
well, oddly enough, so we do you know what Critical Role is? Matt
Yeah.
Mercer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're huge in the space. And D&D Beyond which is a partner and a licensee of Wizards of the Coast. I called him and I said, Adam, who's the CEO and just the greatest guy in the world. I said, we're really struggling. We have this great box. Nobody's seen it because we're like, you know, we're creating things, but you can't buy it.
Right.
Because we don't have the money to make it by itself. So we're doing pre-orders. So I'm like, I guarantee you, there's 149 things in this box.
Holy cow.
It's huge, and it's $500, so it's expensive, but it's worth we're hardly making any money on it. And I said, we need help. And so he threw out this email blast and put us on Critical Role because they buy timing on Critical Role, and we sold like 400 boxes
Oh, wow.
in a
Holy
week.
cow.
and that's what
so-
you do. Well, let me ask you a question too, because even when I
Is
hear,
this interesting at all, or is
Yeah,
it boring?
definitely.
no, it's very interesting. Because,
Should I make it sexy? I don't know.
No.
No,
Well,
I'm interested because I've always asked Joe and Nick,
Yeah.
which is maybe where you were asking,
Yeah.
is where is the Dungeons and Dragons TV series and where is the Dungeons and Dragons movie?
Well, yes, that was one that I want to get there. I want to get there for a second, but kind of going into what you're saying here too, because this is the one question that I had. I'm always fascinated because I played there was like a wrestling role play game I played when I was a kid, and I loved it. I am so intimidated when it comes to D&D, right? Not because I love fantasy. I love like all the stuff. You guys are speaking my language, but I'm intimidated at how to get into it. Because like you said, you started when you were younger. You got back into it when you're 22.
Sure.
I've never played a lick of this stuff. So like if I wanted to play again and I wanted to get into your game, like is it something I got to get into the minor leagues first, or how can I get into it?
It's a great question. First of all, I would say this, that in the world, we're talking earlier about how the world feels like it's going to hell in a handbasket. There's something about the D&D culture in the world and the community, which is a huge word in D&D, that is unparalleled. The acceptance and the sort of openness of every level of play, every way you play, every gender, sex, creed, queer, straight, trans, doesn't matter. You're accepted in this community. Which the world needs, right?
Yeah.
And you look at Matt Mercer just did this thing called Between the Sheets, where he talks about D&D is the world that people like me that were lost in the world. I found drama and it changed my life, right? But there's people still in the world right now that are lost, and there's something about finding community in the Dungeons and Dragons world that like solidifies you. You want to run through life with people like you. And you find a game and all of a sudden you're surrounding a table like this and there's 5 of us and we're all joined in a story, and that is community. It's the same thing as going to church. Like you're like, oh, these are my people. And having people make the world makes the world a much better place. To your point, you can get into any game because all you have to, it's so easy. The access level is like $3. You need to buy 3 books. Okay. Collectively, it's $90. If 5 people are playing 3 books, $90 is not that hard. Right. You grab some dice and you start playing. Literally, if you grab a 12-pack, somebody reads the Dungeon Master book, learns how to play. You can be off and running in this game and have the next, the rest of your life surrounded by people you love, telling a story, and like doing acts of heroism. I mean, the thing about Dungeons and Dragons is that you're just telling a badass story for years at a time.
Right. Well, getting into what Josh was saying there too, because what I've seen now is this kind of boom in D&D and popularity because of guys like yourself, and it seems like there's a lot of like celebrity endorsers that too, and not just because it's a fun thing to do, because you legit love it. Right?
I think Stranger Things helped too.
Stranger Things definitely helped.
There's
for
no
sure.
doubt that it's in the zeitgeist right now. Stranger Things definitely helped. There's a release of the core books that 5th edition has been an incredible asset to people that play. It's like there used to be a thing about Dungeons and Dragons that was kind of complicated, and now the core rules that they run is relatively easy. And it doesn't hurt that Joe and people like me and Deborah and Will, like there's a lot of people out there that are sort of finding the place, but and like at the front of flying our flag proud and saying we play D&D, which makes it okay for kids somehow. But I will say this, that I think in our culture, there's a emptiness to online sort of activity, right? It doesn't have the same kind. If you spend hours on Facebook, you're like, oh God, I feel nothing. You sit around a table, you vanquish the bad guy, and all of a sudden you're like, there's a legitimate rush. Yeah. That's the thing that's making it badass. People are like, oh, I actually am getting nothing from that. And you get a little, board games all over the place are screaming to the roof. There's been this renaissance of board games. There's been a renaissance of coming back around the table and playing cards and being with your friends. That is, I think, a result of a left turn of what's happened on social media and technology, and
it's also character investment too, right? It's investment inside of what you're doing. The fact that you're with all your friends and you guys are world building and you're
you're telling a story, dude. It's like you're sitting there. It's like literally the foundation of civilization is sitting around a fire, and telling stories about how you killed a dinosaur. Right. This is the same shit. Right. And you're doing things like I killed the devil. You're like, you're playing a palette. You're playing these badass characters doing badass things, and it's like, this fantasy element that allows your imagination. When you light an imagination up, like when you light a kid up or you light somebody up, like, oh, that was awesome. Like that's visceral. Right. When you sit around this story and you're like, and like you're having a visceral reaction. That doesn't happen on Facebook.
Right.
What
you're
about,
not like, yes.
What about something like MTG? You think the communities are very different from a Magic Gathering to
Oh no, but
D&D?
I don't. So the interesting thing about Magic is that you're sitting across from a dude trying to beat someone, right? The interesting thing is like the thing that kids love about it is you're collecting cards, you're collecting powers, but then you're competing. Like our world, like you know, at a certain level, you stop competing. There's something about trying to beat somebody across from you and shaking a hand at the end of it, going, "Dude, that was awesome."
Right.
As a spellcaster, it's the same thing as Look, people in MMA want to be physically fit. They want to kick ass. They want to win, but it's competition, right? It's a natural, humanistic. I want to win.
Right.
That's the same thing with Magic. It's just it's just a cerebral. If I cast this and I cast this, it's like it's I
like
don't know,
puzzling
it's
or chess or
competition.
anything
Yeah, well,
like that.
Yes,
well, that's
yeah,
why
yeah.
when you go into storytelling, and again, because you guys are who you are, and because you're a creative dude, and you're always kind of thinking, and when it comes down to the TV and film element of it, I'm sure that the conversations come about. There's two things. One, the conversation always used to be, I'm sure, the movie, because the movies in the past haven't been fantastic, but like now, with streaming, and now with when you look at like the Star Wars show that's going to come out, The Mandalorian, right? You're going to have 10 episodes to really
Tell a story.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's the best.
now, I personally think that if you're going to do this in Dungeons and Dragons, that's the way I believe that it should go. I think you want to go down that direction. Where do you stand on it?
Well, look, I think that if you look at Game of Thrones, right, the ability to tell the story at a high level with quality is unparalleled, right? Like nobody ever took the genre seriously. Spellcasting, heroes, dragons. The genre was never serious until you see the success of something like that. So there's no doubt. And by the way, that's another piece of like D&D's success. So there's no doubt that streaming and telling the story in 10 parts seems to me the best way to sort of do it.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, and the thing you have to crack in doing this is that Dungeons and Dragons isn't like the story of Conan. The reality is that I'm a guy who plays D&D. There's a separation between me and the character.
Right.
So I think that to me that's one of the hard things to crack. Unless you're doing something in Jumanji, like all of a sudden now I'm in the game.
Right.
Like I don't know how. It's sort of like they've got to sort of crack that nut.
Yeah, well-
and I know they're on it. I mean, obviously it's at all-time high. Like D&D has never been hotter. It's never been a better product. There are millions and millions of people playing like once a week.
Well,
so.
would you want to be involved in it now because you are?
Dude, look at me. I will be involved in anything
Anyway, you
this
can do
side
it.
of your
So,
home
but
film.
there's been you haven't been involved in anything yet as far as talks or anything. Okay, cool.
No. But it's out there. I know that it's out there.
All right, so for people who now are very interested in what you're doing here now with Beetle and Grimm, what else should they know about it? Where can they get it again? So for people watching live, people watching on the replay here, and then they want to get involved in D&D, what do they do?
Yeah, well, so a couple of things. So BeetleandGrimms.com is we're pre-selling the box. We still have boxes left. We have very few boxes left at this point, but so you can go to Beetle and Grimm's and you can buy it. It has a list of everything we've just posted a list of everything that's included in the box. So BeetleandGrimms.com. And then, look, D&D, like you can go to any game shop anywhere USA and you can pick up a game. Like right now, Mock's Boarding House in Seattle has 2 huge facilities that they're like running restaurants out of. That people come, they sit, they drink beer, they play board games, and then you sit down and play these like one-off or these one-shots of D&D.
I know at Nerd Melt, because that's where I live. I live like basically right behind where Meltdown Comics used to be.
Yeah, sure.
They had a huge D&D thing there once, once a week basically. And when they shut down Meltdown Comics, they kept doing it just in the alley behind the building.
Oh,
They'd
that's
bring the
hilarious.
table.
I
It
get
was hysterical.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Those people need houses.
I
Like,
know.
they
Yeah.
need like housing for that.
It was that was their community center.
Yeah, yeah.
It was, and it's a shame that they tore that down. It's just it was too expensive for everybody to run it out of there.
Right.
It's- yeah.
It's incredible to hear your passion on it. Because
I'm not leaving. I feel like you're about to
I'm not
leave
kicking
and
you out.
wrap
No,
this
I'm going
up.
to shift a little bit though, but I'm not going to kick you out
Okay,
yet.
let's
But
stop talking about D&D.
Just
shifting.
Let's
we
talk
like
about
it.
chicks.
I do. She'll
Totally,
do it.
dude.
Totally right.
Yeah.
Let's do it. No, because your passion is legit, and you can tell. And again, when you see when that's the thing. The reason I asked that question, how to get involved in the first place, because we do this thing, and I bring it up all the time. We run this trivia league here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm obsessed with it because I run the damn thing. But people respond to it because of how passionate I am about it, and you can tell that's the stuff that you're able to, because you're not bullshitting, you're not trying to sell anything.
No,
You're trying to bring people in to expand the community.
Yes,
And you can see
I
that.
have no idea why we're doing this.
Right.
I want you to
You
know,
love
like,
it.
we're not making. I mean, look, I think that there's a way to make money. I think there's a way to serve the community and do both.
Right.
We are not doing that now.
Right.
Like, we're like, we're 5 middle-aged white dudes going, well, this is better than, getting drunk and getting a new wife. I mean,
Yeah.
we're sort of like, I don't know. We're doing it for all the right
It's
reasons.
definitely healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, it is. So I do want to ask, because cops I'm assuming you haven't left the place.
No, why would I leave?
I know you wouldn't leave. I want to give you the opportunity.
Because you were supposed to go get an outfit, bro.
Don't you think you should come in here and ask the questions? I think you should come in here and ask the questions.
Wait,
Cubster.
he's on
He
his
wants
way
to
in.
ask a
Cops
question.
is on his way in.
Can you open the door? Because I'm about to sweat my balls off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
it is
coming in.
hot.
It's hot.
It's been brutal in here.
Nothing freaks me out more than a dude that I'm amazing.
Yeah.
Grown ass man.
Well done.
By the way, you had Freddie on earlier, and now you have that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, Wes Craven.
Yeah.
No idea. We're
Was
staying
it
in
in your
universe.
car?
It was really good.
I don't know. What are you talking about?
He was wearing the whole time.
told
You're
him I'd
really
be right
creeping
back.
me out. You're really.
That's
I?
incredible.
Can
Is
I
there a
tap out?
breathing
Do you want to get
Tap
out of
out?
here now? Well, Cops, I want to give
Yeah.
you the chance here too, because I know how big of a fan you are of Scream. I wanted anything. This is your opportunity. You got a chance to ask him anything.
I will
want
tell you,
about the
I have
film.
I have not answered a Scream question in.
15 minutes.
That's not true. I do these
Were you gonna
cons.
say a
and
day?
No, I do these cons and I answer questions.
Yeah.
But
Do you,
I have-
you get tired of it after a while?
No,
No?
it's not at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, a part of your
Sure.
history. But I've likened it to being like, ask questions about your first girlfriend.
Right.
Like, oh, yeah, she was great. I loved
Right.
her. She was awesome.
It doesn't define me, bro.
I have, it's also, I have a wife and I have 3 kids.
Right.
Like, it's not, it's like,
Yeah.
I have nothing to say. I mean, what else can I say about it?
But on that
Let's-
note,
let's
why don't
say
you
it.
ask him
What do you
a
got
question?
now?
What was it like? Who killed Tatum?
Well, no, it was funny. Because Dreyfus we had Dreyfus in here, right? And I asked, and before he gets in here, he's like, there is nothing that you can ask me about Jaws that someone has not asked me.
Oh,
about.
I love it.
And it's like we tried, and I think we actually did, but he didn't admit it. So, all right, go ahead.
Did you like him?
Dreyfus?
Yeah.
He was a character, man.
Greatest.
Like I had him. We were supposed to have him on for 45 minutes. We had him on for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
That's a good question,
amazing.
though. Did you like him?
I did like him because I'll tell you why.
What do you like about guests?
Honesty. I like. I would give you a very positive review.
I'm working on it.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
still working.
No, it's just because the thing is, to honesty and people who are just
Get out!
I would want you back in to talk to you for like an hour to 2 hours. I figure we would just shoot the
I'm
shit.
not leaving. What
Good.
are you talking about? I'm staying.
So we'll let
Deborah
them,
and Wool
yeah,
can
they
hang
can,
out.
they kick and look. You stay for as long as you want, man. I'll stretch. Like my thing is, as far to answer your question, I like when people just have conversations, like very similar to what we talked with D&D. I mean, obviously, I want to get to what you want to promote. Obviously, I want to get like other questions about things that you've done. But I just want to shoot the shit. I want to know, like, I would go to, I could hang out with that guy. I could have a drink with that guy. That guy was intense. That lady was legit.
Crazy.
Yeah, but that kind of stuff. Like, and so when Dreyfus sat down here for I asked him maybe I was going to talk to him about all these lists of the movies that he did.
Sure.
We talked about his movies out of that 2 hours and 10 minutes for maybe 10 minutes. That dude just went on a ride, and I just went with
Followed
him.
it. Oh,
that
that's
was,
good.
That was it. So
like it.
that was kind of thing. So anyway, so go ahead and ask your question.
Setting up. Well, I didn't want to bring the mask because I figured you heard 1,000 things about it. I didn't want to be like, but I had this in my car. I was waiting for you.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
so
I
fun.
love,
In the
I love
alley.
your freak flag.
yeah. Well, now that I'm on the spot, not to get too personal, but you obviously worked with Wes Craven,
Yeah.
and he has passed, unfortunately. Just
Wait, what? He's dead? That's not funny. God bless you.
I was
a
just going to
great way of
ask
talking
what
about
it
dead
was
people.
what it was
God.
like working with the man. What was it like working with the man?
I would say he was amazing. He was an amazing dude.
Yeah.
He was so quiet. He was so simple. One of the things I love to say and tell people is that he was an ornithologist. So he loved to study of birds. Like he would go anywhere to watch birds. I'm making that up. I don't know if he would. But he did. But he was an ornithologist. Like he loved birds. And so, I mean, you look at the sort of the nightmares that he created and the humanity behind him was fantastic. It was like you would never put those two together.
Right.
And, we got him. I mean, the thing about Scream is that people don't really realize that the movie it was from a director at the time that hadn't had a hit in a while. It was a genre that was, for all intents and purposes, kind of played out and dead. And we came out Christmas Day. Right. So the idea that, and it came out, it didn't make a lot of money opening weekend.
It was word of mouth that kind of kicked it.
And so at some point, somehow Wes reached out, or we were having a conversation, or we went to dinner or something, and he said, "Congratulations on the movie." And I was like, "What are you talking about? We didn't do that hot." He's
But
like,
you thought it was a bust when it first
well,
came out.
the opening weekend, like it used to be the day when you would have to call a phone line and they would have a recorded box office.
Right.
Like there was no such thing as the internet. I know
Right.
this is going to freak people out, but I don't even know if we had cell phones.
Not around that time,
Not
yeah.
not that. We're not that clear. But so opening weekend we thought it was a bust, and he's like, they've never had exit polls as high as this. We have a hit, and we're like, what? And cut to like a month later, we were having $100 million party, like sort of at this Mexican restaurant all together going, that was crazy. So in doing the movie starred Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox, and you're like, two people from TV, that doesn't work. Like, that's not how movies used to work. You were either a movie actor or a television actor. And those two women as stars, like, oh, nobody's going to see this shit. And it's Wes Craven, and it's a horror movie, blah.
Right.
But it was special in that the script was incredible. The ending was sort of like, if you watch the beginning of that movie with Drew, and the end of the movie's exceptional. Everything in the middle is fine.
Yeah.
But everything in those two, like you get them and then you leave them in like this really intense way.
Yeah. And that was it. So,
Thank you.
well, what are they doing? A TV show? Is that what they're doing now?
They're doing a
Still
TV
doing
show
a TV
now.
show.
So do you? Look, maybe I'm the guy in the room. I think it's unnecessary. That's my point of it. I don't know if you necessarily need it, but I think that's what they do, right? You build a franchise, and that's after the movie was successful. And did you see?
I've never seen it. No.
You seen the other ones?
Oh no, the other movies, yeah.
The other movies.
You make a
I
cameo
was still
in
in that
one.
world.
Yeah,
I was
right.
still in that world.
Okay.
Like I was still.
Yeah, because are you
deeply
a horror guy in general?
No, not at
me
all.
neither.
Not even a little.
I'm more like, so you like fantasy and sci-fi and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really
Wing Commander.
Wing Commander.
Yeah.
Dude, so
Hack the Planet. I mean, let's just go down the list, bro.
Let's do it
Yeah,
everything.
it was
Let's
a
go.
Summer Catch.
Well,
No,
no,
let's-
Summer Catch is my favorite. I mean, I swear to God, I live for Summer Catch.
We have got to get you a hobby.
Look,
we have got
I
to find
love
something
Summer
for you.
Catch.
well, because the
Golf.
funny thing is, so we do another show, a Star Wars show, Jedi
Thanks.
Council, right? So Jedi Council, what
Have you had Freddie on?
many times. So
I
Freddie now,
love Freddie.
Freddie now, that's where I was kind of going with this. Is that through that people, because he was doing Rebels,
Sure,
so
yeah.
so then people started tweeting out at him that he should do it in the show, and Freddie's like, stop tweeting at me and I'll do it. So he did it, and he and I became buddies. He's been on the interview show that I was just telling you about, and then we were going through your list. You've been in 5 movies with
Yeah,
him. He's the
oh,
most
yeah.
zen dude that you could possibly meet. He's such a chill dude.
Yes.
And like, so I assuming it was like, well, they obviously get along because they've done 5 fucking movies together.
Yeah.
But have you guys become
Well,
tight?
I will say that if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have done half those movies. That's not true. We did Wing Commander together. We became boys, and then came back, and then I don't know if it was him or the studio for She's All That.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, come do this. I'm like, yeah, fine. But I needed a job. I didn't have a job, and I hadn't been working. And when Summer Catch came along, I went in and auditioned, and Mike Tolan, who's the director, was like, great audition, you're too tall.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm 6'4", so I was like, wait, what? You can be a tall catcher? And because I played catcher in the movie. And I actually sent Mike Tolan 3 telegrams, like old school you have a telegram, sir?
Yeah, yeah.
So I sent him 3 telegrams. And the first telegram was like, the best movie catcher ever was John C. Reilly, and he's 6'2". And then I was like, I listed like the height of like all these
Yeah.
Hall of Fame catchers. And then I was like, dude, put me in the movie. I will crush it. And he wrote me back. He's like, you're by far the best actor we saw, but you're too tall. And I called Freddie. I'm like, dude, I need a job. I was broke. And I was like, I need a job bad. I was about to get married. And so Freddie like made that happen.
I can see it. He's a
Yeah,
good dude, man.
he's a good dude.
I love Freddie. Well, good. That's good. And the other thing that I was going to bring up to you too is one of the movies I thought you kicked ass in that was The Descendants.
This is like my favorite conversation ever.
Yeah. Well, The Descendants
Started with Foothill.
Yeah.
Foothill, man.
And we're ending on Descendants.
Yeah. Because
Yeah, Descendants was awesome.
You guys shot that in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Okay, too. And then because that movie kicked my ass when I saw it, man. Like, and
Yeah.
especially, it's powerful. It's a very powerful movie, especially if the family and everything.
I think it's. I mean, I would say. I think it's. I'm in it,
Yeah.
and we lost the Academy Award to the silent movie. What was it?
Artist.
The artist.
The artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you think you had it?
I don't really. I mean, at
care.
the end of that whole thing, I'm like, dude, it's so gross.
Yeah,
It's
right.
so gross. I mean, it's not, you look at George Clooney and like turns out an incredible performance.
Yeah.
And nothing bad against the guy in The Artist, but it's just not even the same world.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's guys. I mean, it's not even the same world. And that movie, the artist was all of that, and it deserves credit.
Yeah.
But
sure.
all of everything in the Academy Awards is garbage. I mean, it's people buying votes, throwing parties, giving gifts, throwing more parties. I mean, it's garbage.
Yeah.
So every time you're watching the Academy Awards, just know that there's so much money behind the politics of what's going to win.
You're tuned out. You don't.
It's just so gross. And like the idea that even within all of that, like George Clooney in that performance was unparalleled and gives one of the great performances in American cinema.
Yeah.
I think if you look at that movie and you look at Alexander Payne's work, that movie will stand the test of time. If you turn it on right now, it's an unbelievable film.
I love that movie, and then Shailene Woodley, who really, that's where the stamp from her really happened.
Yeah.
I mean, she was on, I know, the television show, but that was the one I was like, who's this?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now she just blew up.
She was in, she's swimming underwater. She's crying. You're like, oh my God.
Do you think if people voted for Oscars 10 years later that?
Ooh, that's interesting. Like the retrospective Oscar.
It's better than the silly thing they were going to do, the popular vote.
Yeah.
Do you remember the
Popular
stupid
film.
thing they were going to
Yeah.
do? Yeah, popular film.
They got rid
They
of
got
it.
rid of it because they knew.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, they were going to do it, and then because it was a big backlash because it was essentially the only way they were going to get like a superhero movie nominated, right? Because Black Panther this year, everyone was talking about it. So then what they did was, we're going to do the popular film. It was like, no, consider it for the best picture or don't do it at all.
Right.
They're just trying to get people to watch the show.
Yeah, and I think that's. I don't think
Dirty.
that people.
Yeah.
I just don't look. I think that there was a time for the Academy. This is going to keep me out of the Academy forever, but there's a time for the Academy Awards that people came together to celebrate film, and I still think that is the idea behind the Academy Awards.
Right.
But there's so much celebration. There's Twitter. You're always inundated with like awards, and it just doesn't have the same sort of impact.
Well, it's not very different from what people say about Comic-Con, right? People say Comic-Con was started in the 70s and stuff too about just the love of comic books.
Right.
It has since not been about that. Like
That's totally true.
If you go to Comic-Con now, one of the things I love going about Comic-Con are the parties, right? And that was never a big thing back
But
in
even
the day.
then, the parties are like it's still like it. You
I go
look
for the free
around.
food and free booze.
That's fine. That I understand.
Yeah.
I see that. I mean, I can see that in your
it's
face.
true. It's totally,
I think I've seen you on the streets.
It's right
yeah.
here. It's Lillard begging. That's why you were judging me 10 years ago when you
exactly.
saw me.
I was like,
Stop drinking,
he's
dude.
drunk. No, but it's so gross.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
It just
I mean, corporate America is killing us all.
What you
We
got?
just
You got
need
one
to
more?
revolt.
Oh no, I mean I'm a TV guy and I
Yeah.
loved you in Bosch.
Oh,
I thought your
thanks.
turn
Oh,
in
yeah.
Bosch was fantastic. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, but D&D is really where, before we let you go here too, D&D is really the focus right now. Is what, because what do you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I have to say that I am on TV. I'm on a TV show right now, which I should definitely plug, which
Yeah.
is called Good Girls on NBC.
Okay.
That show, we were good last year, and this year's show is off the charts. It's
Yeah.
not on yet. We'll be on in early spring.
Christina Hendricks and Retta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Retta,
good.
Retta,
May
I
Whitman.
started in stand-up comedy with
Oh,
Retta.
you did?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Retta.
funny.
Retta is a friend of mine too, and Retta and I were in acting class together when we were younger too, and she's
She is incredible. She did a scene last week. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
she deserves an Emmy.
Tell
I mean,
her
they all
if you
three
want
of
to
those
see
women
Retta
are
incredible, go watch her do karaoke at Barney's Beaner and Sunday night. Her and I have done karaoke together
great.
many a time.
Oh,
Incredible.
And
really?
ask her about her opera bit she used to do. She used to
Oh,
do
that's
she used to
funny.
do this thing where she would be driving in her car and she's like she got this judgmental looks from people that she thought people would just assume she was jamming out on hip hop. And then she would roll the window down and it was opera and she was like belting out opera and she would look at them and you know how great she is, so dedicated to it, and she just nails it and it crushed every single time.
She's
so sweet.
hilarious.
She's great. So that's
unbelievably talented.
So talented.
Funny, and like you're like, wow, on a dime you can do that.
Yeah, I
She's
need to get
incredible.
her on here. So
When does it come back?
I think we're back in January.
Okay.
I'm not really sure.
Season 2, Good Girls, and you have so we have the game, Beetle and Grimm's. And dude, thank you. You got to come back. I would love to have you on one-on-one, which is the full interview show where we can just shoot the shit for a while because you
I love it. Do you
fascinating.
like
dude.
doing podcasts? I mean, it's not podcast. What is that? It's like
Yeah,
I think it's both.
podcast,
I think it's
video,
both. This is
audio.
audio and this is live on video too. But the answer to that question is I like stuff like this.
people are watching right now.
Yeah, we're live right now.
You can see me.
Yeah, they can see you.
Go back to work.
They're probably working right now. That's
What the fuck are you doing? You're what's wrong with America.
That's it.
Turn that camera off. I wish I
Sons
could
of
do it.
bitches, yeah.
Son of a bitch.
But yeah, so the answer to the question I do because I get a chance to talk to people and hang out with friends and bullshit this particular way. So other times not so much, but this way I do.
He doesn't do anything. What is he doing here?
I don't know who
Is
he
he
is.
being paid?
I just show up with Scream costumes, the
That's
Ghostface.
That's what he does. We have him dress up. Did
go.
you
He
color
does
your
You're
it.
not
eyes?
going to ask any
No,
questions.
I'm just
All
sad
you
all the
asked
time.
was that.
Me?
Yeah.
I was calling you out.
Go
yeah.
ahead.
What you got?
I don't want to.
Why?
What do you mean?
She's on the spot
You're
now.
wrapping the video. I did ask about the 10 years,
I'm
and
a
then we
fight.
moved
I'm a
forward,
fight.
and I asked a bunch of.
I expect more
Matt-
out of you next time. God damn it. You really let me down.
I'm so sorry, sir.
All right.
Matthew Lillard, thank you for joining
Thanks,
us,
brother.
brother. We'll see you soon.